let's talk about Samsung Electronics, a South Korean multinational electronics company headquartered in Suwon in South Korea. It's the flagship group within the Samsung Group. It contributes about 70% of revenues last time I looked. It's one of the world's largest information technology companies by revenue. Remember, it's also a contract manufacturer of semiconductors, chips, flash memory, hard drives, and all of that other stuff for people like Apple, HTC, Nokia, all of the other manufacturers, Sony. Market cap has slumped a bit. It's at $155 billion. So there you go. You can see how we're coming down in value. The Korean listing is the primary one. So you've got to buy them in Korean won, and you've got to convert that market capitalization back from some trillion won back to dollars. That's what you get, 155. Price to earnings ratio is somewhat depressed, 8.5. Dividend yield, I've never seen that number published, but there you go, 0.18 according to our database. So tell us what the latest developments are here and what your sense of the group is.
One of my old favorites. I like the business. Unlike everything else that we've discussed, Samsung seems to be ex-growth. Not in, I guess, the traditional old business, which is the electronics, TVs, fridges, aircon devices. Those are still producing phenomenal returns and operational performance.
And all of those are inside this entity, right? Yeah. Because the world's largest TV maker, LCD screen manufacturer, massive.
To be fair, also still the largest phone producer. So nobody sells more phones than Samsung in particular.
The Galaxy range, right?
Across the board. So where, unlike, I guess, Apple, they've gone is they have the premium in the market in terms of the Galaxy S, the S6 now, but also go all the way down in terms
I think the average selling price of a Galaxy, well, of a Samsung phone is about $150. So that just shows you, whereas Apple is like 600. So it's a significant market position. But that's, of course, where the most phones are sold.
Definitely. What that does mean is that from a margin perspective, they make significantly less margins than Apple. Less than half, actually, in terms of the underlying operational performance, which then translates into lower earnings, which partially explains the differential from, I guess, a share valuation on the market.
Okay, but as far as your sense of the business is concerned, I'm picking up from you that you don't perceive there to be a fundamental problem. It's really the market perhaps has sort of drifted a little away from where it ought to be.
There's a bit of a concern in terms of, I guess, momentum around the mobile unit in particular. We've seen revenue growth slow down, particularly actually been negative over the course of the last year, and that's really what's driven the share price movement backwards. And that's been informed not by competition just with Apple, but also within the Android market. Google has an incentive to try and diversify their underlying base away from just Samsung into the other producers.
There's the 5-year share chart of Samsung in won. So that's on the Korean listing, code 005930 if you go and look for it. So there you can see it has come off, but it's not like it's totally lost its way.
No, and ultimately, again, this is a phenomenally well-run business that remains particularly competitive in all of the facets of the business. But in terms of the outlook, you wouldn't be seeing as phenomenal growth as the first.
So are you saying that in the mobile phone business, they're losing a little bit of margin and you're anxious that competitors like HTC and Xiaomi and so on are eating at them, or are they going to be able to fix this?
My other concern is to protect earnings. They've started cutting down on R&D. Now, ultimately, for all of these businesses, R&D is the fuel for potential earnings growth going forward. So when you cut down on that, implicitly, you're cutting down on future growth.
Okay, hot or not?
Not as buoyant in terms of outlook for earnings, but I think the market's pulled back significantly enough to be mildly hot on this one.
Okay, good. I'm going to give it a pass. Not hot for me.